I didn't catch my wife cheating. I scheduled her downfall. I found the receipt at the bottom of the trash at 11:43 p.m. Not because I was snooping, because the bag ripped. Greasy Chinese takeout boxes spilled across the kitchen floor, soy sauce leaking like a crime scene. I muttered under my breath, grabbed paper towels and crouched down to clean the mess. That's when I saw it, folded neatly in half, too clean to be garbage, tucked between a fortune cookie wrapper and a crumpled napkin like someone had hidden it and forgot the trash would eventually get taken out. A hotel receipt, 2 nights, king bed, champagne package, dated last weekend. Last weekend, my wife told me she was visiting her sister. I stared at that thin strip of paper like it could blink first. My stomach didn't drop in some cinematic way. My heart didn't pound. It was worse than that. It was quiet. My body went cold, like it was trying to protect me by shutting off every feeling at once. Then embarrassment came hot and sharp. Not because she cheated, because I realized how easily she had done it. Like it was nothing. Like I was a background character in my own life. My name is Daniel Moore. I'm 38 years old. I work in logistics, which basically means I make sure things arrive exactly where they're supposed to, exactly when they're supposed to. I live by schedules, tracking, proof, patterns. For most of my life, that worked. You follow the data, you avoid surprises. Marriage, I thought, was the one place you didn't need a system. Love was supposed to be the part you didn't measure. Claire and I had been together for 11 years, married for 8. We didn't have kids, not because we couldn't, but because there was always some reason. The timing, her career, my stress, the world, the economy, the air quality, probably. Claire worked in marketing for a tech company downtown. She was smart, charming, the kind of person who could walk into a room full of strangers and leave with everyone's attention. I used to love watching her talk because she made conversation look effortless, like she was born knowing the right thing to say. Over the last year, though, something changed. She worked later. She traveled more. She started buying clothes that didn't match our life heels and dresses meant for places we never went. When I asked about it, she'd smile and say things like, "A girl can't evolve," and make me feel old for even noticing. So that night, sitting on my kitchen floor with soy sauce seeping into the grout, I didn't scream or throw anything. I didn't even get up. I just unfolded the receipt with hands that felt too steady and read it again. I wanted to be wrong. People say that, but they don't always mean it. I meant it with my whole chest. I checked the date one more time. I checked the hotel name. I checked the room number. Then I did what my brain always does when it senses chaos. I started building a timeline. I went to the calendar on my phone. Last weekend, Claire said sister weekend on Friday afternoon, came home Sunday night with a tote bag and a smile and a story about a new brunch place. She kissed me like she wasn't carrying a secret in her throat. I thought about her sister Tessa. They talked, but not like that. Not 2-night hotel close. And why would they get a champagne package? I could have confronted Claire right then. I imagined it me holding the receipt, her eyes widening, her mouth shaping into that practiced innocence. Then the denial, then the anger, then the tears, then the apology that sounded like a commercial. And the worst part? I imagined myself accepting it, because the truth is, I loved her. Or I loved the version of her I had in my head. Or I loved the idea that I was the kind of man who didn't lose. So I didn't confront her. I put the receipt in a folder, a plain manila folder from my desk drawer. I labeled it home warranty because no one ever asked questions about home warranties. Then I took the trash out. The next morning, Claire hummed while she made coffee. She wore one of my old sweatshirts like a trophy. She kissed my cheek and asked if I could pick up dry cleaning later. Her eyes were clear, calm, normal. If she felt guilt, she didn't bring it to the kitchen. I went to work and did my job like my life wasn't cracking in half. But in between calls, I watched patterns. I remembered things I'd dismissed. I noticed how she always took her phone with her, even to brush her teeth. How she angled the screen away from me. How she had started charging it on her side of the bed, face down. I didn't touch her phone. I didn't need to. I started observing instead. On Thursday, she said she had strategy night at the office. Same phrase as always. The kind of phrase that means nothing but sounds important. She left at 7:30, wearing that navy coat she only wore when she wanted to look expensive. She didn't kiss me goodbye. She gave me a quick touch on the shoulder like I was a coworker. I waited 10 minutes after she left, then I drove downtown. I didn't follow her like a movie detective. I parked 2 blocks away from her building and watched the entrance like I was waiting for a friend. At 7:28, she came out not from the main office entrance, but from the side, like she didn't want to be seen by the security guard who always waved. She looked around, not dramatically, just enough. Then she walked right, toward the Hilton. I felt my throat tighten, like my body finally understood what my brain was confirming. I waited, hands on the steering wheel, watching the hotel doors as people came and went. Couples, business travelers, a family with a stroller. Normal life. At 7:51, a man stepped out and stood just outside the entrance like he was waiting. Tall, broad shoulders, crisp coat, confident posture. He checked his watch, then looked up like he sensed her approaching. Claire walked right into him without hesitation. He kissed her. Not a quick peck. Not a confused greeting. A kiss that said, "We've done this before, and we'll do it again." I could have stormed out of my car. I could have punched him. I could have screamed her name. But what would that give me? A moment, a scene, a story she could twist, a chance for her to paint me as unstable. So I stayed in the car. I watched them disappear inside, and that's when I decided something that surprised even me. I wasn't going to catch her, I was going to finish her. Not with violence, not with threats, not with drama, with structure, with evidence, with timing. I went home and slept like a man who had already left. The next day, when she came home in the afternoon with a glow and a casual, "Hey babe," I smiled. I asked how her strategy night went. She launched into a story about brainstorming and late meetings and team synergy, words that sounded like foam. I nodded like I believed her. Inside, I was already rewriting my entire life. Over the next month, I became the best version of myself on purpose. I cooked, I cleaned, I stopped questioning. I told her she looked beautiful. I laughed at her jokes. I even planned a weekend date night, the kind she used to pretend to want. She posted a picture of our drinks on Instagram with a caption that said "date night" and a heart emoji, like proof she was still a good person. Then she left Thursday and went to the hotel anyway. While she was out building her secret life, I was building mine. First, I met with a lawyer. Quietly. Not a divorce bulldog, just a calm professional with kind eyes and a voice that sounded like it had handled 100 heartbreaks and never judged any of them. He asked me what I wanted. I thought the answer was justice. But the truth was, I wanted freedom, clean, complete, permanent. He explained what mattered, what was shared, what wasn't, what could be proven, what could be protected. Then I met with a financial advisor. I didn't even know what questions to ask at first. I just told him I wanted to be safe. He said something that stuck with me. People don't plan for betrayal because it feels pessimistic. But planning isn't pessimistic. It's respect for reality. Reality. That's what this was. Claire didn't just cheat. She made a whole reality where I didn't matter. So I gathered reality in return. I pulled bank statements. I pulled mortgage documents. I pulled records of what I paid, what she paid, what was in my name, what wasn't. I didn't hide money. I didn't do anything illegal. I simply stopped being naive. Then I learned something that turned my stomach and calmed my mind at the same time. Claire's company had a strict policy about relationships within reporting lines. A morality clause, they called it. Not because they cared about romance, because they cared about lawsuits. And the man from the hotel, it didn't take a genius to guess who he was. Claire had mentioned her new director before, a guy named Grant who was brilliant and intense and totally changing the culture. She'd said his name with that little spark people get when they're talking about something they want. Grant. Of course. So I verified. I didn't hack anything. I didn't break into email. I just observed. I checked the company website. There he was. Grant Harlow, Director of Marketing Strategy, Claire's department, her boss. That meant what they were doing wasn't just morally rotten, it was professionally dangerous. And for the first time since I found the receipt, I felt something close to power. Because Claire wasn't just lying to me, she was gambling with her career, our finances, our stability, and she didn't even think I was smart enough to notice. The next step was patience. I waited. I let her get comfortable. I let her think she was winning. I watched her detach from me in slow motion. She stopped asking about my day. She started forgetting little things. My coffee preference. the name of my coworker, the anniversary of my dad's death. She'd look at me sometimes like I was a piece of furniture that had always been there and always would be. And while she was fading out, I was sharpening. Then 3 months after I found the receipt, Claire came home with a folder in her hand and a look on her face that made my skin prickle. It was the look of a person who has rehearsed a speech in the car and is about to perform it. "We need to talk," she said. I turned the TV off calmly. "Okay." She sat across from me at the table. She sighed like this was hard for her, like she deserved credit for suffering. "I've been thinking a lot," she began, "about us, about what we want, about what's healthy." She said words like growth and space and alignment. She said she felt like we'd become roommates. She said she needed to find herself. She didn't mention Grant. She didn't mention the hotel. She didn't mention the lies. Then she slid the folder toward me. Divorce papers. I didn't open them right away. I just looked at her. Her eyes were steady. Her mouth was relaxed. She looked relieved, like she was stepping into the life she believed she deserved and leaving the boring weight of me behind. I picked up the folder. I flipped through. She wanted a clean split. No drama. She wanted to sell the apartment. She wanted half of the joint savings. She wanted spousal support temporarily. She wanted to walk away with a prize for burning the house down. And the crazy part? She expected me to fight. I could see it. She expected the crying, the bargaining, the anger. Instead, I smiled. "Okay," I said. She blinked. "Okay? I want you to be happy," I said, and signed the first page. Her posture softened. Victory. I signed the next page. Her eyebrows lifted. Suspicion. I signed the next page. Her lips parted slightly. Confusion. "You're fine with this?" she asked, voice cautious. I kept my tone gentle. "I don't want to hold you back." She stared like she didn't recognize me. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she'd been with a version of me that existed to make her life easier, and she forgot I was also a man capable of learning. "Thank you," she said finally, and the word landed like an insult. She moved out that weekend. She took her clothes, her shoes, her fancy skincare, her framed photos of us, except the ones where I looked too happy. She left behind a blender, a lamp, and a sweater she didn't like. She also left behind something else, her arrogance. On Monday morning, I sent one email, not to her, not to Grant, to the HR department of her company. Subject line, conflict of interest disclosure. In the body of the email, I wrote a short, calm message. I believed an employee in the marketing department was involved in a relationship with a supervisor and that the relationship appeared to involve company travel and potential misuse of resources. I attached documentation that supported the claim. No insults, no threats, no emotion, just facts. Attached, the hotel receipt. Photos I took from my car of them entering the hotel together. A simple timeline showing dates, times, and patterns. Thursday nights, Friday afternoons, consistent hotel location. I also attached something else. A screenshot of Claire's Instagram date night post from our staged evening. Not because it mattered legally, but because it showed something important. She was living two lives, and she was careless about both. Then I closed my laptop and went to work. I didn't call her. I didn't text. I didn't gloat. I just let the system do what systems do. 2 days later, Claire called me at 10:17 p.m. Her name lit up my phone like a warning. I didn't answer. She called again. I let it ring again. Then she texted, "Daniel, what did you do?" I waited 10 minutes before replying, not because I wanted to torture her, but because I wanted to stay in control. If I replied instantly, it would feel emotional. So I replied with 2 words. "What happened?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "I'm in trouble." I stared at that message, and for a second, I felt something like pity. It passed, because pity is expensive, and she'd already cost me enough. She called again. I answered this time. "Daniel," she said, breathless, like she'd been running. "Are you behind this?" "Behind what?" I asked, calm. "My job," she snapped. "HR called me in. They're asking questions. Her voice cracked. "They put me on administrative leave." I leaned back in my chair and looked at the ceiling, like this was a weather update. "I don't know," I said. "Maybe they found something." "You're lying," she hissed. "This is you. You're doing this because you're mad. I'm not mad, I said. And it was true. I signed the papers. I let you go. You're ruining my life, she shouted. I almost laughed at that. She had lied to my face for months. She had walked into a hotel with another man while I was at home, thinking we were building a future. She had served me divorce papers with relief in her eyes. And now she was screaming because the consequences showed up on time. I didn't ruin your life, I said quietly. I stopped protecting it. Silence. Then she said softer. You knew. Yes, I said. How long? Long enough. Her breathing sounded shaky now. Daniel, please. If you can fix this. I can't, I said. And I wouldn't. She made a small sound, like the air had been punched out of her. Grant said he'd handle it, she whispered. And there it was. The truth. The dependence. Grant. The man who kissed her like she was a sure thing. He's not answering, she said. I didn't respond. Daniel, she pleaded, voice turning sweet, desperate. We can talk. Maybe we rush the divorce. Maybe we... Claire, I interrupted gently. Stop. She went quiet. You didn't want me, I said. You wanted the version of me that made your life stable while you chased excitement. You wanted a safe place to land while you jumped. Her breath hitched. And now you're falling, I said. That's not my emergency. I hung up. The next week, her company announced a leadership restructuring. Grant was departing to pursue other opportunities. Claire's LinkedIn headline changed to open to work. In the months after, the fallout spread like cracks in ice. Claire tried to call from different numbers. She emailed. She showed up at the apartment once, crying in the hallway like she was in a movie, asking for one conversation. I didn't let her in. Not because I hated her, because the version of me who would have let her in was the same version of me who didn't notice the receipt until the trash bag ripped. And I wasn't that man anymore. A year passed. My life got quieter. Better. Not in a dramatic way, in a real way. I slept through the night. I ate dinner without waiting for the sound of her key in the door. I stopped checking my phone like love was supposed to arrive in a notification. One evening I went to the grocery store after work. I stood in the produce aisle comparing avocados like it mattered, and that's when I saw her. Claire was 2 aisles away, holding a basket with a few items: cheap cereal, canned soup, a carton of eggs. Her hair wasn't styled. Her clothes weren't curated. She looked smaller, not physically, but in presence. She saw me at the same time. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she walked toward me slowly, like she wasn't sure I was real. Daniel, she said, voice thin. Claire, I replied. Her eyes flicked over me like she was searching for damage, for proof she'd broken me. But I looked. Fine. Better than fine. I heard you moved, she said. I did, I said, and that was all. She swallowed. I'm sorry, she said. It was the first time she'd said it without adding a reason, without turning it into a performance. I studied her face. I could see exhaustion there, regret, maybe even shame. But I also knew something important. An apology doesn't rewind time. It just proves the person finally understands what they did. I hope you're okay, she added. I nodded. I am. She hesitated, then asked the question like she was afraid of the answer. Do you ever miss me? The old me would have said yes. The old me would have remembered vacations, inside jokes, the way she laughed when she wasn't trying to impress anyone. But I didn't miss her. I missed the story I thought we were living. So I answered honestly. I miss who I thought you were, I said. Her eyes filled slightly. She looked down at the basket. That's fair, she whispered. We stood there for a moment, surrounded by strangers buying fruit and planning dinner, like love didn't implode in grocery stores. Then she said, I deserved it. It surprised me. Not because she said it, because she meant it. I nodded once. Yeah, I said softly. You did. I walked away. Not dramatically, not with a speech, not with some triumphant soundtrack in my head. Just a man pushing a cart toward checkout, finally on schedule again. Because here's what I learned. Betrayal doesn't always come with screaming and slammed doors. Sometimes it comes folded neatly in the trash, hiding under takeout wrappers, waiting for the moment you stop cleaning up after someone and start cleaning up your life. And when that moment comes, you don't have to catch them. You can simply schedule the end.